All right, everybody, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive. Today, we're wading into DAX.
Tax.
Yeah, DAX.
Yeah.
Data analysis expressions. Specifically, we're going to tackle a function that sounds simple enough, but, well, let's just say it's got some hidden depths. It's called LASTNONBLANKVALUE.
Ooh, that sounds kind of technical.
It is. But that's what we're here for, right, to break it down. So DAX is this powerful language, right? It helps you really dig into data and pull out those insights. You see it a lot in tools like Excel.
Okay, I'm starting to remember DAX, Excel, yeah.
Exactly. Now, we're using some technical documentation as our source material today. And the thing that really grabbed my attention is that it kicks off with a warning. It's like, hold on. Before you go using LASTNONBLANKVALUE in your visuals, you got to be super careful. Things can get messy.
A warning. That's not usually how these things start. So what this function is like dangerous?
Not dangerous, but it can definitely lead you down the wrong path if you're not paying attention. So today's mission, if you choose to accept it, is to figure out what the deal is with this LASTNONBLANKVALUE. Why even have it if it's so tricky?
All right, I'm in. Let's crack this case. What does this function actually do?
Well, the way it works is kind of interesting. Imagine you have a column of data. Let's say it's, I don't know, daily temperature readings for like a month.
Okay, I'm picturing it. A big list of temperatures.
Right. Now, some days you might have missing entries. Maybe the thermometer broke or someone forgot to write it down.
Happens all the time. So what does this LASTNONBLANKVALUE thing do with that?
It finds the most recent day where you do have a temperature recorded. It skips over those blank cells and points you right to the last piece of actual data.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's kind of like find the last valid data point. Seems useful. Why all the warnings?
Because, well, it's not quite as simple as it sounds. This function is super sensitive to how the data is sorted. You change the sort order, and boom, you might get a completely different LASTNONBLANKVALUE.
Wait, really? So it's not just finding the last non-blank value in the whole data set. It depends on the order things are in?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go back to our temperature data. Imagine you sorted it by, say, highest temperature first.
Oh, I see. So instead of going day by day, you've shuffled things around. So the hottest day is at the top, then the next hottest, and so on.
Right. Now, the last non-blank value that LASTNBLANKVALUE finds might be from weeks ago, even though there might be perfectly good data from more recent days, just lower down on the list.
Ah, that's where the trouble starts. You could look at that and think, oh, the last recorded temperature was weeks ago, when that's not actually true.
Exactly. And if you're using this in visuals, like charts or graphs, things can get really misleading really fast.
Sounds like it's a useful tool, but you got to be really careful how you use it.
Exactly. And there's another layer to this whole thing that we need to talk about. Filter context.
Filter context. Okay, now we're getting into the real nitty-gritty.
The documentation mentions another function too called LASTONBLANK.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that and LASTONBLANKVALUE? Is it all about this filter context thing?
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. Think of it this way. LASTONBLANKVALUE is like last on blank, but with a super focused lens. It adds the column you're looking at to something called the filter context.
Filter context. So it's like looking at the data through a filter.
You got it. Imagine you've got a massive spreadsheet with data from all your sales regions, north, south, east, west. You slap on a filter to only see the west region, right?
Right. So I'm basically hiding all the data except for what's relevant to the west.
Exactly. You've changed the filter context. Now, when you use LASTNBLANKVALUE, it's going to find the last non-blank sale specifically within that west region.
So it's not looking at the whole sales data set anymore, just the filtered portion.
Exactly. It's like zooming in on a particular section of your spreadsheet and ignoring everything else.
Okay, I'm starting to see how powerful, but also potentially dangerous this could be.
Right. Useful in specific situations, but really easy to misinterpret if you don't understand what's happening behind the scenes. It's like you might think you're looking at the big picture, but you're actually just seeing a small slice of it.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes. Who knew a function like LASTNONBLANKVALUE could have so many layers?
Right. It seems simple on the surface, but there's a lot going on under the hood. You got to be mindful of the sorting, the filtering. All these factors can really influence your results.
And this isn't just about this one function, right? This is a lesson that applies to data analysis in general.
Absolutely. It's not just about plugging in formulas and calling it a day. It's about understanding the data, understanding your tools, and thinking critically about what you're seeing.
Asking the tough questions, like what other hidden factors might be influencing my analysis?
Exactly. You got to be skeptical. You got to be curious. Don't just take things at face value.
All right, Deep divers. As we wrap up here, I'm left with this thought. How many times have I looked at a chart or a graph and just accepted the information without really questioning it, without considering the impact of sorting or filtering?
It's easy to fall into that trap. We get so focused on the results that we forget about the process.
Right. So let this be a reminder to all of us to keep those lenses polished and our minds sharp.
Don't be afraid to question the data. Dig deeper. You might be surprised at what you find.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring.